Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Imtiaz Syed, and today we're going to be looking at a certain programming aspect of GIS, and specifically I'm going to talk about re-engineering a Flex application to a JavaScript application. To introduce upon the topic, Zoom Tucson is basically an application that helps residents and its general users to obtain curbside and drop-off information. I'm going to be talking about this in detail later. And we're going to be looking at some methods used for doing the conversion and also at the benefits. So,
hit that same button on the clicker. There you go.
okay. So let's have a look at the objectives. So the most crucial one is to obviously migrate or redesign the application from Flex to JavaScript. To achieve that, we will be making use of ESRI's own configuration known as MyGovernmentServices. And apart from using it, we want to host and customize that particular configuration and also leverage the benefits of JavaScript API classes and methods. So what exactly is Zoom Tucson? So originally the Zoom Tucson is a GIS-based application which is hosted by City of Tucson, and it's based on Flex API framework. And the benefits and the utility of having this application is it lets its users avail the nearby information about nearby services, which include drop-off, curbside, and all the government facilities that exist nearby. And what does it exactly look like? So this is the launch or the initial page of the original Zoom Tucson application. And that is nothing but the static address bar. So the users can enter the address there, or they can just click on the map, which would result in something like this. So what it does is generates the pinpoint graphic, which is basically the XY location of the address that we have entered. And it results in the information in the form of these tabs, which occur at the bottom of the application. To look at this information, these are nothing but the collection of services which have been included into the application. And again, all these services are hosted by City of Tucson. And we can imagine a scenario where we would like to look at the nearby fire station to the click point. So if we happen to zoom out of the application, so it would give us the collection of fire stations, and the same can be observed at this particular tab. Let's take a look at the methods that I had to use to be able to get to the redesigning part. So the first and not the most crucial one is configuring the routing, by which I mean to say to be able to add the routing service to the application. And this basically means modifying the config.js file of the application, which resides in this particular location once we download the configuration. And all we have to do is we have to switch the value of this particular tag from either true or false, where true corresponds to having the route and false otherwise. And since it refers to the ArcGIS online routing service, it is subscription based, hence totally optional. Next, this is the most significant part when it comes to configuring the application. Again, this occurs in the config.js file. And there, the configuration bundle provides us with the sample URLs. And all we have to do is replace the existing URLs with the ones that we feel that would fit the requirement. And all these services are again hosted by City of Tucson. And each of these services have a certain purpose associated to them. Some of them would be fire station, police station, and so on. The next thing is the configuring the proxy. A little information about proxy. Proxy itself is a small .NET-based application which serves multitude of purpose. One of the purpose it does is whenever it comes to web application, the request when it tends to exceed 2,000 characters, that's when this particular application would come into play. And what it does is it helps the application handle that amount of request and be able to run the application smoothly. This particular configuration came with its own proxy bundle, but it didn't really work out for me. So I had to make use of the proxy file, which I downloaded from the ESRI's GitHub page. That happens to be the most latest version of proxy. And in order to be able to use that, we have to paste it to the application folder's location. And this proxy application itself has its own configuration file where we want to add those URLs which we believe would be responsible for request handling of the application. And once this is done, this should be operational. And this is the where we modify the aesthetics of the application, make it look like Zoom Tucson, and make it more personalized. And the configuration comes with its own styles folder, where we will have certain CSS files where we can find attributes like the application header, screen content. For example, I have changed the name, the logo, certain design, and the language on the splash screen. All this is very straightforward, and it can be personalized to a great extent. And finally, we want to be able to publish the application so that it can be accessed publicly and can be consumed by all the users. And so far, I have been able to test the application only on Windows operating system. I'm yet to test it out on other operating systems. But when it comes to Windows operating system, we need to have the IIS enabled, which is nothing but the root folder, which comes with the web server of the Windows operating system. So this particular entire web application folder needs to be placed inside the root folder. And from the IIS manager, that needs to be converted to application. And another major prerequisite is to have the ASP.NET of the at least version 4.0 or more. I'll quickly give a live demo on the reengineered application. So upon the launch, this is how the JavaScript API-based application looks like. And again, we have certain, for searching the address, locating the current location, and the base map switcher if we want to share or help, and that is just the zoom in, zoom out button. I would like to search certain location, how exactly it would give the result. So this is the default address. We could change it to any address as long as it belongs to City of Tucson. And upon search, it generates the results. We can select either of them. So just like the Flex API application, again, it generates a graphic for that. And it's basically pinpointing the XY location of the address we entered. And it's giving me information at the bottom bar about the libraries, police stations, and parks and fire stations. As of now, it is limited to these services because these are the only services that I have as of now configured with the application. And upon, let's say, if we want to go to the first police station we have here, so it would pinpoint that to me. You can also click on the police station to get some information about that. So as of now, I was able to pull out the address and the phone number for that particular park. And it is ideally also supposed to give me the directions by clicking on this button. But I'm yet to configure, unfortunately, I'm yet to configure the routing service part, which is organization and subscription based. So unfortunately, we can't see that. But if we happen to zoom out, it should again give us all the police stations that lie near to that point. And we can, all those police stations are listed out here at the bottom bar. And some of the options that I mentioned earlier is the base map switcher, and this should give me the the current location where I'm standing at. And yeah, so again, we have all the nearby services to the point that I just located. So that was the quick demo on the application. Sorry about that. So the architecture is pretty straightforward. These are the list of the generalized services that I've used in the application. The public refers to the services that belong to the City of Tucson, routing service. Geometry services to be able to perform all the geometry operations, and enterprise services. All these services consolidate to become the REST API, which we have been able to use in the config.js part of the application. And then this refers to the framework that is extensively utilized in the application. And it further segregates into HTML, CSS, and JS. And eventually, we have the clients. And these clients refer to not only desktop clients, but also on the web. Like this application could also be run on mobile devices, which support all these browsers. Results and benefits. It includes all the functionalities that is provided by the Flex API-based Zoom Tucson. It leverages the benefit of JavaScript, Dojo Toolkit, and other frameworks. It is portable since it's based on JavaScript, and it can be run on different operating systems, even though it is still to be tested, and on different media platforms, unlike Flex API, which would require browser plugin and heavy IDE to run. And yeah, it is independent of browser plugins. In conclusion, the objective that we looked at earlier has been met by using the existing configuration. And just like we were able to do the operations in Flex API-based application, we would be able to achieve that using this application, if not more. And given the flexibility of the framework, there is a great scope for further additions. Some of them, like we could include routing service, we could include all the methods and operations that we have in JavaScript API sample page. All of that can be included by just having the configuration and Notepad++, and you're good to go. And lastly, these are the references. Specifically, I would like to thank City of Tucson and Peter for having me work on this as my master's project, and MSGIC staff, and of course ESRI for having me. And let's have a look at the overview that we talked about. We had a look at the objectives, the old, the Flex API-based Zoom Tucson, methods, the reengineered Zoom Tucson, architecture, results, conclusions, and references. Any questions?